Noi to men gombo gazan dorje jam renga chan to le je wa mo je wo je lam bo dorje don dain do de me je ni de je ja ye la man do ba je jo ne ma Jemba nyerma jeba nanam jem Yevara zangore gajula Solvande sotawe zondojo Jeje wonso kuje demreje Sanje lemba deme dorje jam Renjem barzarandor be male Dendane denzam len dorje jam Raden joje len so derje la Solvande so gombe dang jejo Manya barje zinje nav so so Onde landa waza nuruya La la sandur joge lo maye Ganjare zong rojar der dale Jame yaso gawa judala Sorvande so jube so zeyo Yunkar yadro reng de dorje san Sanwa gwenje da bu dorje ju Gardo zeyo dorje nambar jong Gandar tele jete zokwela Juje yang le nying jete weka Gandar barwa jembo nyong jeka Barje jen benza kumare Ye ye song jong kola jende yang Doda bar se do je dang jar zur Chanta gu so dan je wang su so Do je par be jen ko la zo la Zor wan de so de le nan jar yo Ram so re pe zar zo te na tong Zo ge go re ye ye to vor ya Chab dar ye ye par pa je ye so Temne nyenze do to je ba yo Pung kan de san dor je ko lor da Na ye de da de je dor je da Teme nyen je per wan ro da la Temne do je jan ta de ba yo Do da go da ye ye nyam yo ve Chovan Dorje Sanjo Senje Parvayam Jengar Temne Senjo Delveten Royo Sijo Dorje Chovayon Dode Dosa Yanan Zene Medowe Zema Zeja Parvano Zela Temne Nabeser Kantar Zeyo Pombe de Jon Ame La de Do Nima de Jon de Don Sa Jeta Teta de Jon Tse Lave de Jon Landa Sa To Jo Lev Je Yon Den Je Bo Nyan Rev Je Chipa Tanga On Ju Me War Je Par je dam gui do be nye se de Par je dam do mo Java Jam Tso Jela Tatan Ruvo Sinjena Gosam Gube Jasu Ye Namo Lama Kunjo Yedamla Java Jam Tso Jela Tatan Ruvo Sinjena Gosam Gube Jasu Ye Namo Lama Kunjo Yedamla Java Jam Dadam Ruvo Sinjena Gosam Gube Jasu Ye Jemada Gelo Gandazese Tele Pervejen Gordon Gorvado Nerobes Time Yara Semje Doi Jemada Gelo Gandazese Tele Pervejen Gordon Gorvado Nerobes Time Yara Semje Doi Jemada Gelo Gandazese Tele Pervejen Gordon Gorvado Nerobes Time Yara Semje Gengo, Noi the True Gorwe, Yeshe me bombarwe, Lora na Yeshe ledra, Ye game bema, Doi yedda de ye norwe, Den na hunge tronde, Le da nye mabje zobe, Gobar jen dorje yone, Jien te na jasa sado, Boy javye jegen dornam, Yekaya marwenden, Nairenge wujien dozo, Hoen jengwe dame sobjel, Zeyşerden jade jewa, Zeyenye zegwe zenga, Deyonye me bongadam, Deyonhanye raraberva, Derde juram jedena, Zoyam jem golo diende, Maiten jaya jesani, Yebe obangone, Jeoyom bedomar yavla, Doi davor hungar yavya, Moen bodam le yavya, Mardogar hinge yavya, Moede gondar zenjirlo yavya janser, Devar meyo yavya jana, Sone dobje yavya, Moe bonye namja yavya, Gar bonyo yama yavya, Moe layen döja yavya marja, Layon kamsa yavya sena, Sovyere yezevya, Lai dobje yavya sazo, Diede dar jovo nyerye, Noi jarzu zado yavye, Deo dorje shopa dedro, Rangdan zenjanato, Dengo yego vadanye, Yengo merengo yo, Dezedan jelbagade, Diodanye yona sabda, Toenzeja tongre jiva, Toi tongor yangse toba, Diedovu tokanyeme, Dezemban zanga perva, Derdeye tokanyeme, Deserje dorje nendre, Zonde war homlan adi, Lana rara so aha mam la mam pai da ra rang to ge was ge ye sa ba ye do Dage to song and Dretan Jebale was a subject to Tsok Laye to Danini Gur. Gosong to Jason Laptam Je Omkar Amar Hunting Sam Janam Chatpapa Dazun Ranganism the Parmache Bartam Yang Yarwa Tam Je to Jason Lapne Batam Je Dorje Purple Lachep Kochetra Pada Mepe Simse Sunde Ranla Temparam Bata Lejerja Latang Yang Zane Je Laya Yam Tergong Kasewa Tawe Namda Jingo Ba Namje Nada Bong Sangshek Bata they took the ore, the Papa Kashake, Large Patricia, Dang Chado, Jin Sanshake, or the Papa the Gigi, Paro, which are down here, Tangi Jomba. There's a military, the hut of all of anybody. These are took some down here, you would tell down, take it, run down, and you never saw the dancing. There is dancing like a sabali, yomari, Namasaji with children. The Hingi Java dancing the sage of the Mama, Samba and Hingi. They are taking the Yori. See, you Dorje Pro, young doctor, so you're not in the song. So you just simply translate the sitting boy yours. You know, the distinction boy, you know, the Punkam Tanti, San Joseph Jet of Thomas. Oh, Sangatana, now flood, Papa, Larima, your mace. You know, near come when you let on Taji get any could Toxunger or Rangatini. These are the Shincha Tamalas or Lame McGill Tasso Germany. They ding it in young quality, the Galim Matavas, but any Montosum, young Zin Matonga. This Toxum to get body Toxum with Jacket with these same theatre. The top the driver cut them, but then shock the German challenge, so top the driver cut them, but then top the something he gave the driver cock up on your money. Also, locked at it, that the monkey, theatre, the dancing cheesy, top the driver car, your money. They shook the German challenge, they song purpose one or somewhere. Top the driver cut them, but then shock the German challenge, you make room to the door they pass on, or that the techno gold money. The book channel. Now, top the double gower, number they might choke the double trinity. The other thing means that they can't in some part and he get darker or distance, uniform quality, near the Tavarsi. There is the other thing, there's a neck up, you must talk some less size of what it don't need it was a double cut for the you got the daughter about the latest sounding journal and take care of your. Telling us from my to Acheson. Dominion of the New Zenote, Yakumadoxi. Mari, Dominion of the New World, so not a doctor, the Rishiakichel, Keto, Natai or a time we already. Better Dominion could let some or less in Yokosang or take it. There is $10 a jet on the near the Talamago, which is the day to prevent the Ori. Title Kualo del Mambodo, oh, not Papa Gawot, not Homaga Corder. Take it. Vajrakilaya third darum viore. She don't take it Yavan, Union Namia, Rancher darum, they hako gore. Theatre let's on your mare, the day of Professor Dunitary, the Yeshe Kashet, Yali, that Mambo Tongo said, your Gamshishi, rolling tea, keep out of your rolling tea and young thing other. Give out to your money. There are some money, take it as a roll now.
So I'll continue with a few words of introduction of teachings, Dharma friends. So the last one of the four kilas is the material kila of science. And so there's some people, especially those who have a lot of anger and jealousy, who think that this material kila of science is a fearsome killer that destroys others. So it is, they're coming really from a place of aggression and like wanting to destroy certain others. But actually this kind of view is extremely mistaken, because the entire practice is an activity of bodhicitta. And if it is performed with an aggressive mind of aversion, then that itself is actually the seed for birth in the hell realms. And so this is certainly not at all how we engage in this practice as Buddhist practitioners. All of our practices and activities are activities of bodhicitta. And this is also mentioned clearly in the Vajrakilaya Tantra, where it says that the fierce destructive activities of Kilaya is a skillful means and not an act of hatred. It is an act of compassion. So this is how we should understand it. And then in our text, we're on page 5. So it says there, when existence and beings are fully realized as Vajra, wrathful ones, the material kila of science that never lets go strikes at harm doers who grasp at the 3 poisons and appearances. So those harm doers, so all sentient beings in general possess Buddha nature. But even though they possess Buddha nature, it has become obscured. But however, if they seal their aggregates, their sense sources, their elements with bodhicitta, then they all are the deity. And this is where the pure perception of the secret mantra comes in, where we say that all appearances are the deity and all sounds is a mantra. And so although on a temporary level sentient beings appear in this afflicted and impure way, it is a temporary state where they are controlled by the 3 poisons. So they are not actually in self-control. And so as a result of engaging in negative actions, for example, there is those, regarding those harm doers here, there is those, we call them the enemies within whom the 10 grounds are complete. That refers to those beings that engage in extremely negative karmic action, and as a result of that action, they would again and again continue to suffer in the hell realms of samsara endlessly. So what is liberated here, what is delivered, are really the 3 poisons of those malicious sentient beings. So again, as it is said in the Tantra, that the activity, the destructive, fierce activity is free from all hostility. It is only performed with a mind of compassion. So thinking that, no, this is a wrathful activity where I can destroy those who don't like, is really a really a wrong perception, a perception of ignorance and hostility. So this is not at all how this practice is engaged in. But this destructive activity of separating them is to separate them from their afflictive emotions. And it is a deliverance or annihilation that is performed on the basis of love and compassion. And this is how those wrathful activities of secret mantra are performed. So instead of having them wander for a long time in samsara, they are quickly liberated. So now temporarily, sentient beings are controlled by the 3 poisons, and as a result, they engage in much negative action. And so as a result of these actions, a lot of suffering will manifest. And so corresponding to these actions, direct, wrathful or destructive activity is performed, and this is like also the meaning of the mustard seeds and so forth. And so in this way, their karmas becomes purified quickly, and they become liberated. And then there is one other part in the text that says, now when we invoke those destructive activities, it says. And one disciple asked about that because it says, may they experience suffering. And so one disciple said that that's really not a good thing to say. Now, why do we say that may they experience suffering? But you can't see it like that too, because we need to experience suffering again and again as a result of our action. Or it's just like sometimes suffering is necessary. For example, when you're really sick and you have to do a surgery, and then there's a lot of blood, and that's also suffering. But this kind of suffering, it purifies the negative karma in a very quick way. So this is a method to quickly establish sentient beings in the path of liberation. So that's really the meaning of that. It is this swift liberation, or of annihilating them and thereby delivering them to the state of liberation. So a lot of people have many misconceptions about especially this particular kila, the material kila of science, and they turn it around and think that this kila, this material kila, is used to destroy those harm doers and those bad ones, the ones that we dislike. But actually, if you practice it from this perspective, you're not actually destroying anyone, but you yourself become destroyed. You're really annihilating yourself, because the hostile mind is the seed of falling into the hell realms. So you're really annihilating yourself in this way. And so this is a sign of a lack of understanding. So this is a brief explanation on the material kila of science. This is just a brief instruction. Also, many different commentaries and books have come out that you can read. Also, I've given my input to the best of my abilities, and also it is based on many discussions with spiritual friends. So definitely something to be taken serious.
All the song joke the Tamarki Bato was the Dandi Tomis, the Sanchoks with Jet up to me, Tangu Jury, the Madaba Jury, Tapu Jury, Madaba Jury, the Duki, Nubo, and Sima in the tower. That's at the tower, Dangi, Chimbo Yore, Mambo Yore, Lucas and Tamjore, Jinjitis, Guguson, Covid jumps or ringing Hoarje, them just only mark upon the use somewhere. The mark Palatini to the neck of child. The way that it is a long night of Nito, Tona, the Tapu Jury, the Jason Tower, the Chibatseva, Nipa Person to buy your body, Tapasad, the long to the Bugatti, the Drupchö Testa, the Chukoli, the President of Sugar, longer, Chukos, or Chukor longer to Sadi, Chukot Namkata with Chade Yona, they include a dollar long Jason of Takashi and Tangba, and we also. They is the quality, they don't talk, Matamis on the Trucatin or some young didn't Tapara dog certain Tangi also, the Saji on this area, Saji Custom Mr. Laptan, the Saji on the data, the Pungu do to Nami Lartor, then Pardo Nipani, Jerem Chipolatin, the Pardo Nipani, the Lobster Saji, you move do some debt on Saji Tesson. New bottom Yeshe Jerto didn't the optimist Malaripe or Devon Kang the Tomba His or Toman and Savani Tesson. New mode of that on Sajet. There are the see the Yeshe Bahakon, Matapa the Yeshe or Yeshe Tangi by Jewelry, Tapu Jewelry Yeshe Namita or Chukota Logos of Yeshe will marry. There are that do to me, Sevan Yesong. Love do something that the Jakin Tzedich, Toriga Devasam, Shinji Chan, the size of Bangla, Deva Karina, Deva Chungla Chapa, the Chibi Deva Thomasis of Sapita Lavioy. Part of Deva Jelly, the status about that one, Chedu Devan, Semi the water, and Devan Sani to each other, Super Devala. The very in Choga Deva, that are the Love do to Lord Saddle Short. Fly do the Gapotinanga, she Chava tell fly do somebody. They're Rinchen coming. They're taking both Kong, don't do so. Namkata with Yeshe, Saudi Cosmo, Chuka the Sandy and locals to come from me, but one girl. The Drupchö, Roar, Doctor, don't chat about the other Nebacha and Gore. They love you to look at George. Radung took just out of the Jedung, Poor Matong, but since it won't have Tapul, Desatam, longer, Desa, Madaba, Druga, Desa, Jakin from the Musa, Charge, and Jakin from the Lama give it in the last one, and Drama Mamboy, Samati, Desa, Sentina, Designing Boyope, the Ziti of your Tenzin, they go charity. Dandy the toilet, Jimping or go chairman. The Dissolution, the Rangi with the Alan Pertowere. Ben the shell the Yasiana, the shell corner or the Sages are good, the simply Sages are good gold. Simply run a district of Boyobati, Yasivan getting the moon to the cellar. The Koto Sacho with Chadarchi, they were. Don't have prepared that do you really just. Savita General Sato Show, the Chipulati, that is one by your young and other Samotana, the Thubten did our naturally the Ketan Yazak have done so more. That I'm building the Tubman boy or it. The Tubman boy, the Tsok, Namka Dawati, Namin Mother Dawati, doubling two teams to make Tamjan Dawari or it. Tommy the Dawari the Doyoris. They married. Ben the Dutchins in your case, nothing is that some way. 2 told in the Mazon went out also top. There's a soul there, so the district we want to on a tree. The top Tamji take the Diva, some help Tamji take the Diva, Rangi to Nikaka Meva, or the data were taken on Matoya, Detamji Yore, the data were that nature teachers on the young and the Travagina. Don't take our head. The little take it down, the Janet, love it to look Saturday for the head. Little Monami, the need some Sanji on top of the Moram show is. Dawati, Tata Naka Dawati. Dzambhala Children Dawati Shadera. Chopping Tora among Children, Taman then the Dawati, the Namatic do the theatre and Royoris. Maris, Tawak Hakon, Tawak Hakon, the Pendatin Zati, Zaki, Dawat Masco, Dawat Depsona, double the Nimasan, tell you, to that check about your Maris Hakon, they don't take the district of the Rango Moshi Bateles, Donna. Territory or they got down that was on the top song, they were there or child or so. The long or long term or so. No,
so, and then for the result of engaging in practice, the result must be all brought into one. And so the result is mentioned then in the overcoming of the 4 Mara demons. So that's on page 6 in the sadhana. So it starts first with conquering the demon of the aggregates, let his body of fully ripened karma become liberated as the deity. So in the end, one becomes liberated from the 4 Maras. And so first the Mara of the aggregates. Regarding the Mara of the aggregates, so this refers to our physical body. And Marpa Notsava had said, when in an impure state, this physical material body consisting of the 5 elements is the source of all suffering and pain, or illness and pain. But when one realizes its nature, it is realized as being unified with the form of the deity. And this eliminates all ordinary concepts, self-grasping. So now we have a pure and an impure. There's pure and impure bodies. Both kinds of bodies are illusory. So there is the pure and the impure illusory bodies. From an impure perspective, the impure illusory body is just this body that we now have, that is composed of matter, material substance, and it is a compounded phenomenon and therefore subject to disintegration, and it is the basis of much pain and suffering. So that is the various bodies of the sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara. Jigten Sumgön also had said, that which wanders in samsara, in the ocean of samsara, is the body. And one begins to wander in the ocean of samsara as the 12 links of interdependence perpetuate, starting from ignorance. So starting from ignorance, due to ignorance, we begin to wander in the 6 realms of samsara temporarily. So that is the impure illusory body. And then when one realizes its true nature, it becomes a pure illusory body, which is like a rainbow in the sky. And it possesses all the perfect enlightened qualities of omniscience, of compassion, and a power to protect. And it is an embodiment, one becomes an embodiment of the 3 kayas. So the rainbow-like appearance is the Sambhoga Kaya, the appearance of the deity. This is also mentioned in the verses of auspiciousness in the sadhana. It says it begins with the Dharmakaya, and from the Dharmakaya appears the Sambhoga Kaya, from which appears the Nirmana Kaya. The Dharmakaya is all pervasive like space, and from this expanse arises the rainbow like Sambhoga Kaya out of great compassion. And infinite Sambhoga Kayas manifest to benefit sentient beings, because they see that they are sentient beings who have not realized the ultimate truth, and therefore that they wander and suffer in the 6 realms of samsara. So in order to liberate them, to benefit them, they appear. And those Sambhoga Kayas, also Nirmana Kayas. So there's also, it is said elsewhere that a Buddha's emanation is an embodiment, or is endowed with the blessings of the 3 kayas. And so here now the Mara of the aggregate. So when it is overcome, then the body ripens, is liberated as the deity. So that happens in the 2nd bardo after death. Only through having practiced the generation stage of the deity, one can attain enlightenment as a Sambhoga Kaya, in a Sambhoga Kaya Pure Land in the 2nd bardo. And then the afflictive emotions, let's say, the demon, conquer the demon of afflictions, conquer the demon of afflictions with the seal of bliss and emptiness. So this then is the Mara of the afflictions. When it is conquered through bliss and emptiness, then the afflictions all transform into primordial wisdom. For example, we mentioned before, Milarepa had said, within bliss I find emptiness, within emptiness I find clarity. So then next it says, conquer the demon of death, gain power of immortal life. That's the 3rd demon. So actually, how the demon of death is conquered is by realizing that the mind is beyond birth and death. Only as long as we have the illusory, impure body, there is birth and death. But once we realize the pure illusory body, we transcend birth and death and arise as the rainbow-like form of the Sambhoga Kaya that is united with the space-like Dharmakaya. And then number 4, it says, conquering the demon of the gods, attain the spontaneously perfected ground. So this demon of the gods, or the son of the gods, is, now it refers to the attachment to this life and the attachment to the pleasures of the higher realms. So it is being distracted, and it is said that by being attached to minor bliss, great bliss can never be attained. So if as long as we are attached to the samsaric bliss of samsaric existence, it will always change, and we will never reach true supreme bliss. So for example, maybe in the early part of one's life, one is well and happy, but then that changes again in the later part of one's life. Or today one may be happy and well, and tomorrow that again changes into suffering. So that is the inferior samsaric bliss. And then there is the supreme bliss that transcends this. But so the samsaric bliss is, or the attachment to samsaric bliss is what we call the demon or the Mara of the son of the gods. And so then it says spontaneously perfected ground. So this spontaneously here, the spontaneously perfected ground refers to Buddha nature, or realizing the true nature of Buddha nature. Realizing that the mind itself transcends birth and death. It abides like space. And realizing that one attains enlightenment in the nature of the Dharmakaya. And so then, with great compassion, one then reappears for the sake of sentient beings in the various forms of Nirmanakayas and Sambhogakayas to benefit sentient beings. So first, for one's own sake, one attains the royal seat of the Dharmakaya, and then for the sake of others, one continues to appear and is able to benefit sentient beings until samsara is completely emptied. And the Sambhogakayas appear for those with pure karmas, pure tameable ones. And then Nirmanakayas appear to the impure tameable ones. And they actually appear and engage in an actual activity to benefit others. For example, there's many lamas, many spiritual masters who have appeared for the benefit of sentient beings, knowing that sentient beings possess Buddha nature, but they haven't realized that. So those spiritual masters, having realized that, appear to open up this sight to sentient beings so that they realize their own Buddha nature and diminish their own self-grasping. So, for example, the Buddha nature of beings, it is just like this crystal. When you polish it, the more you polish it, the more the luminosity of it becomes revealed. So what this is to say is that these Buddhas don't actually, or these masters don't come and make them be a certain way, but actually it is those sentient beings themselves who are able to recognize their own qualities, their enlightened qualities within themselves. So actually, even though we say that we bring sentient beings to the state of enlightenment, in reality, we are not really establishing any sentient being or bringing them to enlightenment. They actually do it themselves because they already possess that within them. They already possess Buddha nature. It is just obscured, and these obscurations need to be polished and cleared away. And then when it is, then they will themselves, actually their true nature, the qualities of their true nature will reveal itself to them. And so they are introduced to the relative bodhicitta so that they may recognize their own true nature and bring themselves to realizing it. And so this is how we overcome the 4 maras. And all of these instructions come from the lineage supplication. Actually, the entire meaning of the practice is contained within the lineage supplication. So it is very good to really think about its meaning over and over again. And so this particular sadhana comes from the union of the sun and moon tantra. And there's generally many different sadhanas, but this particular one is referred to as the union of the sun and moon tantra, which in itself is very meaningful. The name is very meaningful Because, for example, you have one sun and one moon in the sky, but you have many places of water, sources of water in the world, like lakes and so on. And then everywhere in the world, in those places, those puddles of water, the sun and the moon are reflected. And so then people look at these reflections and they see these thousands of reflections and they say, like, here is the sun and here is the sun and here is the moon and so on. And so they think there is that's how we perceive things, that there is there are so many suns and so many moons. But actually, when we have an eclipse, then the sun is unblocked by the moon's shadow, so then no one can see a single sun or a single moon in their puddles of water around the world. And so what this is to say is that all the qualities are complete within one's own Buddha nature. And it is just that one needs to realize this nature. And for as long as one has not realized this nature, it is just like the moon, the sun being eclipsed by the moon, and nothing can be seen. But then when it moves out of its shadow, then very clearly the sun again can be seen. All obscurations are cleared away, and one clearly sees the single sun reflected in many pools of water. So also this relates to the fortress of the view that we mentioned the other day. This is what it is meant by attaining the fortress of the view, or realizing the natural state of the mind. The point in essence is that even though there are many appearances, self and other are not separate from each other. And so that's the enlightened intent to be realized. So in any case, we should ask each other questions about this over and over again, but this is the meaning of it. And so for now, we'll stop the teachings here. Also, in whatever instruction is given, it has to be in agreement or kind of conform with the actual word of the Buddha. Also Milarepa had said that. Also Thubten Somgön had said that. Thubten Somgön had said that any kind of quotation that is not in accordance with the Buddha's words is not appropriate or suitable. So what is the actual word of the Buddha then? The Buddha said in the Samadhi Raja Sutra that in thousands of worlds I have spoken thousands of sutras. While my words are diverse, they have a single meaning. And if you practice this single meaning, you practice all of my teachings. So that is the actual word of the Buddha. And then another quotation that agrees with that comes from, for example, Longchen Rabcham, who had said, "There is no higher learning than the realization of the natural state of the mind." What is a sign of having realized the nature of mind? Milarepa said in a song on the 10 parameters, he said that when the falsity of the afflictive emotions, when the falsehood of the afflictive emotions is exposed, there is no other perfection of primordial wisdom than that. So primordial wisdom or wisdom. When you meditate and cultivate wisdom, what must happen as a result is the afflictive emotions must be tamed as a result. Milarepa also once he scolded a disciple saying that he said that what is the point of sitting and meditating if you are unable to tame your afflictive emotions? The point of meditation is to eliminate your afflictive emotions, and only then has it become really beneficial. So these quotes by the various masters, I recommend you keep them all in mind and think about them again and again, because these words are endowed with a lot of blessings. They're very precious. So the essence is, in brief, when you meditate, as a result, the point of meditation is to become liberated from the afflictive emotions. So that is what must happen. And whether or not you have eliminated the afflictive emotions is something that only you can see for yourself. Also, wisdom or primordial wisdom is like a sword that cuts through the afflictive emotions. And this is what must happen through meditation practice. So as Milarepa had said, also Milarepa had said in the 10 perfections regarding the perfection of wisdom, he said, aside from realizing the natural state of the mind, there is no other perfection of wisdom than that. So all of these masters, all of these quotes, all agree with each other when it comes to the qualities of the natural state of the mind and how to realize them. So in brief, what is the real method for realizing the nature of the mind? It is to cultivate love and compassion. Because what is the reason why we have not yet realized the nature of mind? It is because of self-grasping, which is like a block of ice. And in order to melt the ice, you need the warmth of love and compassion. So in brief, what is the most precious, most important thing? It is love and compassion.
Om Vajrakilaya sarva bene bhavam be. Om Vajrakilaya sarva bene bhavam be. Ngam Trenle was a tongue and Trenny Bande, Yam Yam Yadu, Yam Jan Kolo Ye, Pawon Daga, Bada Mebe, Matera, Rado Meduk, Yam Yasamane, Yapje, Dorje, Rankazane, Laye, Madado, Ngam Train to Garden Baba Maje, the Guamshe, Won Benza Gale, Galaya, Zahom Bao, Katam Kale, on the day of Baranza de Maras. Marasena Tamardana Sarva Bene Bahombe Om Benza Gala Gala Yanza Omba Okatam Kayenza Benzaya Anzade Abaran Marasena Tamardana Sarva Bene Bahombe Om Benza Gala Gala Yanza Omba Okatam Kayenza Benzaya Anzade Abaran Zade Marasena Tamardana Sarva Bene Bahombe Om Benza Gala Gala Yanza Omba Okatam Kayenza Benzaya Aparanze de Marasena Tamardana Sarva Bene Bahombe Om Benza Gala Gala Zahomba Okatam Kayenza Benzaya Anze de Aparanze de Marasena Tamardana Sarva Bene Bahombe Om A E O Le Le E O Anga Kakakangana Ta 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 Janya Ta 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 Na Ta 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 Na Pa 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 Yara Lava Shakaza Ja Om Benza Sato Samaya Mane Palaya Benza Sato Teno Titan Teno Me Bava Sadekayo Me Bava Zobojayo Me Bava Anurado Me Bava Sarva Siddhe Me Bayeta Sarva Karma Sudame Chidan Shayam Guru Hong Ha Ho Banga Sarva Tatanga Dan Benza Mamanza Benza Bhava Ma Samaya Sato Ome Yedharma Hidata Bhava Hidintu Kinta Tanga Dahayo Vadintu Kinta Yonara Evan Bodhema Shamana Yesovai Om Bhajan Barbala Dorje Senong Song Wen Yu Bamber Grasong Toyon Trenle Ba Ming Gan De Nyam Jaya Toje Zergong Take a break for 20 minutes.